General Manager of Citrix Netscaler product line. We have Head of Sales Engineering for Salesforce in India, Deepak Pargaonkar. We have Hanuman Tripathi. He is MD of Infosoft Technologies. He will be moderating the panel. Over to you, Hanuman.
I'll request if there are more people from outside can join in here. Okay. Why we decided on this session is because increasingly in the NASSCOM product conclave over the period of time, last few years, there is a enhanced participation by startups or smaller companies who are selling to corporates. And we wanted to build a story as to how do we help the smaller organizations or startup organizations to sell better or to brand themselves better, create a market for themselves. And we came out with this idea as to how will it be if you think of selling your products, your solutions, or yourself to a much larger company, and how do you build that relationship, and whether in the first place it is feasible or no. So here we have a distinguished panel of experienced people who have been in the markets, in the supply chain, where they have been supporting smaller organizations to work with them in various relationships. And it will be interesting to hear from them whether this concept in the first place works, and if it does work, how to build this up, and whether it is useful. So I would invite both of you gentlemen to state your mind whether this is a workable concept in the first place. What do you think of it, and how do we build it? Then we'll take it, how to make it happen.
So good afternoon, everyone, and Hanuman, thank you very much. This was really a good question, and thanks to NASSCOM also that we are in a position to interact with all of you. So just to elaborate and build on what you started as a point of discussion, Hanuman, whether in our observation we have seen working. So let me just talk a little bit about the experience. I represent Salesforce.com here, and I'm sure that in some form or the other, in some capacity, you would have all heard about Salesforce.com, its success over a period of last 13 to 14 years of its existence. Without really getting too elaborate into what we did, I'll just get into the specifics of this model. What we have seen, we are the cloud evangelists. What it means is that we have created a market around this cloud computing. Now, essentially what it means is that it has given a huge scale, to Salesforce as an organization, and also an ability to engage a lot of companies and a lot of innovations, and to help those innovations reach to the market. Now it's very simple. You would have heard of a lot of companies, to just name few of them, pharma companies specialized called Viva, and few others, the travel and experience one like Concur, etc. You would have heard of them. Those are the ones who have kind of developed their applications, put their applications on this ability or available platform called Force.com. So I'm just introducing you to some of these terms. What we have seen is what a developer organization would typically need. An infrastructure to come out or bring their innovation into the reality. You have a concept, you have an idea. To bring that into the reality, you surely need infrastructure. That's one part of that. Second is access to the customers, or availability to reach out to the customers. And naturally, that is one of the important aspects. When I was discussing with Hanuman, who himself has been an entrepreneur, he said that that is something which is very critical and important. And then the third aspect of working together with these giants per se, like say Salesforce.com. In my observation, the organizations, the development organizations have been in a position and have got benefited by leveraging all of them. They have been able to access the excellent development platform to bring their innovation into the reality in the form of, to put it simply, get their products developed in the fastest possible way. Then access the marketplace. You would have heard about this, something called as the App Exchange, which essentially gives access to the marketplace, and which is very, very important. And then working with industry giant like Salesforce. So Salesforce works with folks like you, the innovators like you, to get your idea, to groom that idea, and help you work on the commercialization and monetization of that. So just to start with the conversation and elaborate, as I elaborated, I have seen this work successfully. I have seen the companies leveraging value out of this model. And it has been a win-win situation. Salesforce also gets benefited. We have our own competency. We have developed our own products. We have got them to the market. However, we say, our chairman says that, let the innovators get their capability and their products onto our platform, and we will make them available. Because the customers surely need them. So that has been the observation, Hanuman, in terms of what we have seen around. So that's a little bit on from my side. So Sunil, over to you.
Yeah. Before Sunil, I want to share with you that we decided beforehand that before we get to the next set of questions, we'll ask you to participate here. So we would ask you if you have a view whether this is a workable concept, and do you have any different idea. We'll like some audience questions to come in after this, after Sunil finishes his round. So Sunil, over to you,
Yeah,
sir.
thanks. Also, one other thing we did discuss beforehand was that any question that Hanuman asks, we are supposed to say it's a good question. And any answer that we give, you're supposed to say it's a good answer, right? So I think very briefly, because I think we'll open it up for questions, is we look for 4 things when small companies work for big companies, right? The first thing is that basically you have to find a way to offer joint value to an end customer. So you always have to focus on joint value to the customer. So if you're not honest about that you can offer true value with you and the quote-unquote industry giant to an end customer, it'll always be a one-sided partnership, right? Because the dance, quote-unquote dance, is with a partner, and you'll have to look at it as what's in it for both of you, right? So the first model is you can go build something in the channel. Essentially, you go work with Salesforce, or you go work something with Citrix to say, hey, at the sales level, let's go talk to customers jointly, do some marketing campaigns and so forth. That's one. Straightforward. The second one is you actually build something on the company's platform. In this case, Force.com. In Citrix's case, our products or capabilities. And then through that, you offer some level of 1 + 1 = 3. Because the first one was more 1 + 1 = 2, right? Normally, the first one is not as attractive to a big company because we are very busy. We have multiple things to focus on. And until customers come and tell us to go work with a small company, we're not going to spend any time, right? Whereas if you're able to offer some unique integrations, 1 + 1 = 3, on the platform, then you get a little better leverage. The third category is where we actually have some gaps. And yes, we do have some gaps. And as long as you can provide true innovation and true technology gap fill, then you'll actually get some pull directly from the big company. So try to identify essentially whether you're providing any technology innovation / gap fill for the bigger companies. And then if you can do a good job of either 1, 2, or 3, that leads to 4, which is an acquisition. And just as an example, all of the big companies, I think we all have different varieties of it. Different companies have different flavors of it. But as an example, Citrix is a mid-sized company, right? It's $3 billion in revenue. I can tell you that we have about maybe 14 products. Only one product was built internally. 13 products were acquired into the company, right? So of the 3 billion, at least 2.5 billion comes from acquisitions that eventually grew to be large-sized companies, right? So anyway, so with that as a setup, I guess we'll turn it back to the audience.
Absolutely. So, opinion from the audience, questions? What do you think? Is this a workable concept? When I started Infosoft Tech 18 years back, the fear among entrepreneurial community, and which were very few at that time in India, was that a larger company will gobble us up. Today, actually, that is one of the motives for the smaller companies to look at. Whether you look at market expansion, or you look at brand creation, or you look at being acquired over a period of time, do you think this is a workable concept to start working from in a startup mode with the larger companies? Any view from the audience? Or would you like to ask us something? They'll give you a better mic.
There's a pre-qualification of questions actually for this particular panel. So depending on a question, your mic will be on or not.
Yeah.
Hello. yeah, I have seen this path definitely works, and I have worked in the past with business objects, and we were only one product, and then we acquired 7, 8, and finally got acquired by SAP. And now when I started my own, and I am working with SAP in terms of filling some gaps and all
That's
that.
very good.
So definitely it works, and it is comparatively easy, and it has a defined exit path also.
Very
That's
good.
what I want to say.
Anybody else? Anyone else interested?
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
there is some
one
gentleman
interesting
behind
point
you.
there was if you do a good job of dancing with industry giants, even sometimes the giants can get acquired by themselves. Right?
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Sudesh. I'm from Redbus. My view on that is, yes, it definitely works, especially sometimes where you want to actually diversify, because the end customer you're serving actually has different services we actually can provide to him. And as a company, when you focus, you are specialized in only one thing, but there is another partner who is specialized in some other things. And just by partnering, we can create a better value for the end customer. So I believe it works.
Very well. Good. So the next moot question is, yeah, is there anybody else? Okay. You will get next set of opportunity also, but you go on, please.
Yeah, when you're thinking about getting acquired, it's not the people, it's the product. So the product has to be independent of people. Then if the product or the system which you want it to be acquired, depends on the people, right? No one will look for it. It has to be automated, simple, easy to use. That's my view.
So we'll talk about some of those characteristics in the next question.
So what we need to discuss now is as to how to build that relationship. The important thing is how to build that value by which a larger organization sees a value in a smaller organization. How does a startup create a win-win kind of an environment? In the first place, how does it get past the gatekeepers? See, in your particular environment, what happens is that you have a large ISV portfolio, or you have a business model which is very portfolio driven. But imagine companies which are selling to large corporates, large billion-dollar companies, but they don't have a model of having to cultivate ISVs. So how to break those barriers, how to reach the right person, how to communicate, and how to then engage is something which is very interesting to know. And maybe Sunil should throw
I can start off. I think it, the way we look at working with any company, whether it be another giant or a smaller company, we sort of look at it from the same lens, right? Which is, as I said before, assuming that the big giant is doing well, then the way they look at others will be, tell us something that you can do for us that we couldn't do on our own, right? So the value that, say, the partner has to provide has to be something that is obvious to a customer that the company like Citrix themselves could not do, right? Yeah. So that's one. The second thing is, if we as Citrix are not doing well in a certain area or in a certain set of markets, right, then clearly there's an obvious opportunity for partners that can add value to actually create an partnership in that perspective, right? So the way we look at it is that, look, you have to be very clear about what do you want from the giant up front. And make no bones about it. Do I just need Citrix's help to go to market? If that's what your need is, then be very focused about it. If you need Citrix's help to OEM your product, be very clear about it. If you want to get acquired, but you want to do a few things before you get acquired, then be very clear about it. Because I think in this day and age, there's relatively smart people on both sides of the fence. I think it's been maybe over the last decade or two that people tend to you kind of do the dance a little far away, and then you get close by, and until you propose, or one way or the other. So I think the core essence of this relationship building comes down to, somebody said product. Clearly there has to be something core, but it also, in many cases, at least from Citrix's side, comes down to people as well. So how you interact with the product company in terms of go-to-market, as well as when you acquire them, especially when you acquire them, the people and the cultural fit become almost in some cases equally important as the product side. Okay. So just a couple of points.
Very well. Deepak?
So Sunil, let me do the first part of the protocol. Very good question, Hanuman, and it's very important and relevant. So just to build on the conversation that Sunil started, and as you, Hanuman, initially spoke about that, at least since I represent Salesforce and I have more knowledge about what Salesforce processes are, I'll be able to talk a little more about that. Yeah, it's a very well-established process because we have seen the value coming out of that. So what we have done, we have a separate organization to cultivate these relationships with the ISV, and there are multiple ways. The ways could be that if some organization simply just wants to develop one-off applications for its customer on a project basis. There could be mechanisms whereby you want to productize your idea and monetize that. So there are models available for that also. I mean, may I just introduce you to a colleague of mine who is sitting pretty much here in the audience. So when I talk about the point of interface, Shekhar Bhagat, who is part of leading this ISV effort in country and my colleague, he is the person who is a point person for all the people who are doing their development efforts in India. And Shekhar, thanks for being here along with me. And what essentially we do as a process part, when I initially spoke about that you need a development infrastructure, just go to our platform. The access is free. It's a complete infrastructure that you get, your development environment, whatever are the tools and toolkits that you need. So I'm just talking about the how part now, Hanuman. So when you get into that, and once you decide that, okay, I pretty much have a product ready now, and I want to monetize that, just get into the touch with the likes of Shekhar Bhagat, and for India it is Shekhar Bhagat, who will be your point contact. I just wanted to introduce him because we have put an infrastructure, and then the entire process kicks in. And in whatever time frame we are talking about, you are there with your idea, which is now productized on the platform. You are ready to take it to the market. You can take it as a commercial offering, and there are those structuring, etc., that Salesforce as an organization works with you. I'm sure that the Citrix and the other organizations, because for you, the value will be to understand what many of the players do. So I'm sure that Salesforce is one of them. There are others also who bring this value. But this is the way and the mechanism in which Salesforce engages and tries to help. So there is a complete infrastructure, absolutely. There is people, process, and technology that has been put in place. So that's the way Salesforce engages and helps people to get their innovation into the market. And if the monetization needs to happen, that needs to happen. Yeah.
So in a non-ISV kind of a situation, and this is our experience that, in the larger deals, in the larger RFPs, the SIs would usually pitch for, and they would bid, let's say, a $10 million contract where products and services both are included, and invariably ISVs would not have all the offerings from their own shops. So they would look forward to sharp companies who have got some offering which they are ready to white label or collaborate within the bidding framework to work with the ISV in order to get the best price, best technical specifications, and thereby win the tenders. And this is what is increasingly becoming a trend, a norm in all the overseas tenders and also in India. At least from 2004, 2005, we have seen that all the large biddings which are happening in financial services industry, they have moved away from a software developer bidding there or a hardware organization bidding there, but there is an SI bidding there, and all the value system or the ecosystem of the supply chain comes in together under that organization. So at this moment, the issue is it's not about having to probably worry as to why would an IBM or a Wipro or a TCS would be interested in me as a smaller organization. The point is how we can add a value to them so that they can win a larger deal and you get a piece of your own supply. So this is our opinion, and therefore we say that we must look at these relationships very seriously. It does cut down the cost of your marketing, cost of your branding. Your go-to-market becomes much, much faster. Your security for future revenue gets more easily identifiable, and therefore it's a very, very good way to look at building your own business. So any view or any question from the audience side at this stage? Anybody?
Yeah, I agree with you that...
Can you announce your name and organization?
I'm sorry. I'm Sumana from Latex International. It's a startup. I've been struggling to get people join me and raise funds to build the products. But from what I've seen and what I've realized is that there are too many startups and too many entrepreneurs in India, and we will all benefit by collaborating with larger players and complement each other's skills, so that there is no reinventing of the wheel happening too often.
Very good. Okay.
And generally, just to add to the point, I think it's not that different than the rest of the world. I think there's just always many entrepreneurs and too few opportunities in general. But I think this is where, with respect to working with an industry giant or a partnership, it is one option beyond just building an innovative product, because building a truly innovative product is truly hard. But beyond just building an innovative product, you could innovate on your go-to-market. And in doing so, offer some differentiation either for raising funds or for taking it to customers. So the fact that you're building something uniquely on Force.com to address a certain segment that nobody else in the Force.com ecosystem has actually done, or with the Citrix ecosystem has done, should at least elevate your company in the minds of a VC or even the company like Salesforce or Citrix, because we ourselves invest as well. So I think the point here would be, product innovation is clearly foundational, but go-to-market innovation in relationship with working with companies like us or anybody else, right, should be another consideration as you guys build your companies.
Very good. So in the last 3 minutes now, we need to discuss, is there any kind of a constraint, or is there... Okay.
Hello. Do you hear me? Fine.
Yes. Okay,
Hi.
go ahead.
I'm Santosh from f1circle.com. So I wanted to ask one thing about this platform play. So LinkedIn started an apps platform long back, so SlideShare was a part of it, and then there were TripIt and others. But now I do not see it anymore. So why would a company so big move away from platform play? So what could be the reasons, and do you see that?
You will have to answer it very briefly.
We can answer it in two different dimensions. Do you want to take the first cut at it, or?
Honestly speaking, not sure about what were the reasons. Let me be honest about. However, when I can speak of the serious players who are into the market, and who are those, and there are some players like, say, Salesforce, we are very, very serious about this business. There are dedicated people, and we see a huge potential. If I talk about, say, App Exchange, which is our marketplace, there are more than 2,000 applications already over there, and the entire customer network, as well as these developers who have developed their products, are leveraging that. So people like, say, Salesforce, or even for that matter, I'm sure Citrix, Amazons of the world, are fairly serious. Now, honestly, I don't have an answer as to why, which is the reason to go away from that.
Yeah. See, it's about the business model. Now, if you see Citrix or Salesforce or your Microsoft, IBM, likes of that, they all run on an ISV model. Their entire growth is dependent on that. Maybe LinkedIn is not. LinkedIn is not made of developer community, because it's a limited offering which has a very unique focus in the industry. So that could be the reason. Obviously, we can take this offline also. So quickly, if there are constraints, if there are issues which the developer community should take care of in terms of what is protection for them while dealing with larger companies, what would be your view? Quickly, very short answer.
Yeah, very short answer is actually that question sort of sets up one of the risks, which
yes.
is what if the company that you're working with goes out of business or removes the product or kills its platform, right?
Okay.
I think that's a foundational risk.
Okay,
obviously,
right.
the other risks are confidential information.
Excellent. Your Deepak?
Yeah, from a risk perspective, I think competition would be one of the risks that I would say, because there are tons of innovations lying around. You need to constantly differentiate yourselves. Okay. Other than that, and from a perspective of your working with the platform, I don't see many risks in that, because those are well taken care of. But yes, you need to be constantly innovating. You need to think about what is your product offering. You need to be aware of what are the security and the compliances. So you need to be a real serious product development organization, and that's very, very important.
Very well. So any key takeaways, since we have just about 30 seconds more? So
yeah, basically, whenever you look for working with a bigger company, look for pain, right? Look for pain. What is the big company feeling pain? Yes. Focus on that.
Absolutely. Yourself?
This is something which is there to stay. You can seriously consider this. you can leverage this, you can exploit it, and you can improve your reach in the market.
Absolutely.
And leverage the latest in the technology. And that's the value it brings. The principal companies are also pretty eager to work with the innovators like you. That's about it.
Very well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your audience. And if you like the session, please respond on the left side. If you did, on the right.
And don't mention to
Thank
say
you.
that Hanuman asked good questions.
Yeah.